All right. Well, that was my best, worst Ironman ever. It had a lot of positives and, I guess maybe one negative or something. Um, but I think the whole lead-in was really solid. I definitely was in my best shape ever. Was ready to go and ready to lay it on the line. So I guess we got everything that we could have expected here in Kona, plus a little bit more, just to run through the. It was, I guess, starting at race morning. That's kind of when I guess the nerves and excitement really started to pick up. Like all through race week, I was really excited, especially when I was at and in town at the expo doing events, just really absorbing all that energy. And then when we got back here to the condo, I feel like I was really calm, and it was just business as usual, not like super hyping stuff up, which I thought was a pretty good approach because I wasn't wasting energy worrying about the race. But getting to the race site, starting to get antsy was not overwhelming, but I definitely almost got like a bit emotional going into the check-in. Just all the volunteers were like clapping and cheering for people, putting on the race numbers and doing an interview with Greg Welch. It just felt like the moment was really hitting, and it being the first one, like I guess just figuring out how to go through a world champs and work through Kona, all of like the little different logistics, and don't want to say imposter syndrome, but maybe a little bit of imposter syndrome going in there, just like waiting for the gun to go off and seeing how am I going to compare. And was able to just get everything done in the morning, had it all set, was good, ready to go. Didn't feel like I wasted any time. Just everything kind of just clicked off, and then we got to the start on the beach, just waiting for them to open up the water, and that was when the first, I guess, fun of the day happened, because all of us who jumped in the water there, everybody got stung by a jellyfish. I got it kind of like up on the face, like the forehead and the nose to start, and maybe like a little bit on the leg here or there, something like that, because it just felt like, you shaved and cut yourself and then you jumped in salt water. And then we got to the start line, we all started joking around, like, did you guys all get stung by a jellyfish? And yeah, so like I swam over to the photographers. Patrick Lang was asking for vinegar, I guess. I was just telling him, like, hey, I think everybody on the start line just got stung by a jellyfish. There's like your breaking news for the day. But I mean, I was joking around, and I was like, that's better than a cup of coffee. Somebody made the joke about getting peed on to, deal with the jellyfish. And I mean, I got stung on the face, so it was just like somebody pee on my face. And so that was kind of lighthearted. The gun went off, and I had a great start position. Got out to the front without too much effort at all, and felt really cruisy, and just waited for Menno Koolhaas to take the lead, because I knew he was in great swim shape, was swimming super well at the practice swim, and knew him and Sam Laidlaw would come along. So they kind of came up. I tried to slot in on Laidlaw's feet, but everybody wants those first couple positions, and in the first half of the swim and even the second half, I just wasn't about fighting in the swim. Like, I wanted to hold my position, but I wasn't going to elbow somebody the entire way around the whole swim course. So I just tried to insert myself, and I think I eventually settled in. Like, I just kind of drifted back a little, but was still top 10. Could see I was within 5 or so seconds of the lead the whole time, and just tried to enjoy kind of that swim a little bit. The jellyfish sting started to seem to like fade away a little, and was feeling solid. And, didn't really feel super pressed. It was just trying to take care of myself, because sometimes I feel like, too, in the open water, if I sight a lot or I let my form go, it starts to go to the low back. So I wanted to keep that under control. And toward the end of the swim, was looking to move up by the pier, and kind of pulled off to the side, swimming along, and got another jellyfish to the face, this time more on the chin and the nose, and was just like, well, I'm going to go right back to the group and let everybody else take the jellyfish stings from now on. I'm kind of done with that. So that was just, stuff to deal with. I 100% do not believe that affected my race at all, especially, you look at anybody who was in the, top of the race, like whether they were top or behind, people were coming out of the water with jellyfish stings on their shoulders, their face, their legs. So it was just something to deal with, and you can make the argument that it took away from the pain of racing for a little bit there. So the day overall, like getting through T1 was super smooth. Got out in the top 5 of the bike. It was a nice cool morning, like cloud cover, a little bit of rain, and just got myself going in town. Inserted myself in the top 3. There was a bit of surginess. Laidlaw was off the front right away. Put a minute or 2 minutes to us just in town, and I was like, he's having a day. Just going to let him go off the front, because I wasn't going to do the chasing. I'm strong on the bike and felt like I was really in a good position to ride a good Ironman race, but wasn't about to just do all of the work to pull back, one of the best cyclists, if not the best cyclist in the sport. So was just dealing with pack dynamics. And for that first hour, we were, my normalized power was in the 330s and 340s for the first hour or so of the bike. And it steadily kind of dropped down a little bit as we stopped, with the surging kind of settled in. But the few kind of significant points of the bike was that first half with all the surginess on the hills, people sorting out, not wanting to get a drafting penalty and stuff. And then also just when Magnus came by, we had a huge 400 watt surge in there as he tried to kind of drop people. He kind of settled in, then went off again. And that was when Christian went with him, and everybody else, like Marquardt was on the front and I was right behind him. And it just seemed like, we're not going to mess around with that. It's just above our ability level. And from there, I was able to kind of collect myself. We definitely just settled in. The next big surge was on Javi. I felt like in the stair steps up, started to feel a bit better, and people started to slow down a little. And I guess Ditlev and Laidlaw were starting to put time into us. And I just felt the whole pack kind of slow down, and it felt easy. And I had come into the red on the Race Ranger, which means I needed to make a pass, and just kind of leapfrogged up to the front because I didn't want to get any drafting penalty. Found myself there and just settled into I think for the whole climb I was about 335 to 345 for watts, so above Ironman pace, but nothing crazy. Maybe that 70.3 watts, and felt really good and in control, and felt like momentum was starting to swing and just having fun at the front of the race, and that kind of felt like a pivotal moment for me. And then we made the turn, and when we came down, again, everybody knows you push on the way down from Javi, but the pushing there, even though the watts were a bit lower, kind of in that 320 to 330 range, it just felt so much harder. And that was also when one of those aid stations was just hard to hit because of the downhill, and I had used up a lot of my water and stuff. Probably didn't play a couple of the aid stations as well as I should have, so missed out on some fluids. And so from that kind of Quai High to the next aid station, I started to suffer with the sun starting to come out a bit, the pace still being hot because I think Robert Callan was going off the front, and I just, nutritionally, if you don't have water, it's harder to take in calories. So the toll of the bike was kind of starting to catch up and maybe starting to overheat just a bit. So the next aid station out by Waikoloa, I really tried to take on a lot of water, dump it over myself, put it on the bike, even take some extra Coke, all of this to regroup, but I let a gap open. And so then I spent about 15 minutes or so trying to close that gap. And that, I think, also took a toll on me because I needed more water to cool myself. So those surges and stuff just started to take their toll. And before that next aid station, probably around 95, 100 miles, something like that, I just started to lose a bit of connection with the group. And that whole last stretch into town, I did lose connection. The legs and body just kind of had enough of that surginess and stuff. And yeah, it was just kind of disappointing to see the group ride away from me when I felt like I had such good bike legs for such a long point in the day. So we have a couple theories: the surginess of the bike, the few areas that I pushed it, plus maybe the aid stations, all added up to me just not having it. But frankly, it's been something that we've seen throughout the whole year, just with the level of the bike raising and just the training. Like, we definitely have to sit down and really figure out, okay, is there some underlying issue? Is it something that's an easy answer? Is it something that's more complicated? Because I've just been in such good bike shape, and I really believe like I can ride with the best in the sport. And so that's just been kind of a bit of the frustrating. And it's Kona, so it's a lot different, but I rode my best Ironman power ever in the heat here, which I've struggled with in the past. And that was, average power is right around 300. Normalized was like 312. And if I didn't blow up, maybe we could have squeezed a bit more watts out of it. But had my fourth best 90-minute power of the year, and the other three all came at 70.3 races in T100. And then my best, 3-hour power ever at like 311 watts. So was on track to do something great, but I tried to regroup, made it to T2, and, just from the first half mile of the run, actually felt like I had a bit of rhythm, but I think just the stiffness from the bike, trying to get it, each aid station, I was just trying to regroup. Maybe I was trying to make up for some fluid loss, maybe some calorie loss, potentially some just fatigue from the bike, but it basically took me a half marathon to feel like I was in any sort of rhythm, and that lasted for only about 2.5 miles, and then by mile 16, my body just felt like it was shutting down again. And part of that, I think, was trying to take in all of that fluid. Like, I took in a lot of water at that 15.5 mile aid station, and felt like I was about to throw up in the energy lab, and then I was like had to slow way down. And when you're dealing, I guess, nutritionally, maybe it translates to the muscularly and that sort of thing, but again, got to look at it. It's frustrating just in the fact that I wasn't able to show any sort of run fitness, and didn't really believe myself to be out of it, but it was just never got that rhythm back, which is something that someone like Magnus just really handled super well, because he was able to drop back, find his rhythm again, and then go, which I respect a lot, and something that I definitely need to work on. But yeah, that was it. I was in survival mode. Never thought about quitting. It was more about not walking in between the aid stations, which, I guess it's a small victory, but never walked between the aid stations, just slowed way down going through them to make sure I got everything. But yeah, Kona's savage, taking full jugs of water, dumping them over yourself just to stay cool. We saw Leon dunking his head in the bucket of ice I watched Michael Weiss, and there was some guy who was in the porta-john. He hopped out with his 2-liter jug of Coke, took some big swigs of it, and then dropped it right by the side of the porta-john and watched Michael Weiss beeline straight for that Coke. Took that porta potty Coke and chugged it a little bit, and then dropped it down almost for like me to take it, and then kind of apologized when he saw it fell. And I was like, dude, you could keep your porta potty Coke. Like that was just a savage thing in the race. So there's a lot of stuff that's just happening. But yeah, it was a good experience. We put everything into this build, and that's, I think, just the hardest part is like I wanted to show all the work that I've done, and I felt like I did a lot of that. I raced at the front. I tried to put myself in a position to podium, which is what I want to be doing, but just the cars didn't fall my way. I either played them slightly wrong, the other guys were better, a combination of both. So that's where I got one more race for the year, like the T100 Dubai, and then just have to really sit down and evaluate and figure out the game plan of where's the sport and how do I really show my full fitness level there, because I definitely feel like I'm in some really good bike fitness, run fitness, just across the board. And just want to be able to be at the pointy end of the races again. So had a few good indications of that this year, but definitely something that everybody's trying to figure out too is the sport's changing at a rapid rate, and everybody's just trying to keep up.
All right.